Welcome back, everyone. 欢迎大家回来。今天是第161天。It is day 161. Business as usual. Let's get right into it. Man, it seems like it was only yesterday that we crossed the HSK 3 and into the HSK 4 territory. And I still encounter some familiar characters. There are some characters that have yet, like this one. Wow, they're quite a lot of characters I'm still familiar with going into HSK 4. Interesting. A pleasant, but also it's somewhat of a pleasant surprise.
尺寸
And then there are quite a lot of characters that I didn't know in HSK 1 through 3. That's very interesting. A curriculum and encounter frequency is a bit, it diverges quite a bit, or it's just very different, noticeably different. 尺寸. So we got the Chinese inch or measure. I think I'm just gonna add measure. No, well, okay. 尺寸. So ruler, and Chinese inch. Size. The size of something can be different by using a ruler to measure how many Chinese inches large it is. Okay. Dimensions, measurement. Okay. 尺寸. 这件衣服的尺寸很I've lost it. It's gone. 很合 Oh yeah, that makes sense. 合适 fitting 合适 Oh, okay. It's gone.
尺寸
尺寸
冬季
winter season winter 冬季热短夜长 Yeah. So winter short days, long nights. In winter the days are short and the nights are long. Yeah. I mean, that's kind of one of the nice things about getting into the flow of Chinese. You read this and you're like, yep, that's true. Or I'm responding in English, but it says all the things, but I did not read it as that. Right? That's it. Just it's true. 对，这是真的. Well, at least where I live as well. Those near the equator, I suppose that might be a different situation. And those are even farther from the equator.
冬季尾巴
tail. Yeah, I don't know how the crust thing ending up with, like, I don't this is like what is ba like? Ba is like zi. Tack it on, and it's like, okay, we don't have anything that really tacks on to this thing, so instead of saying 尾字 we're gonna go 尾巴, like 嘴巴, as opposed to 嘴字. Maybe they ran out of sounds. I don't know. Remember tail? Picture yourself putting a long crust at the bottom of your back to act as your tail. That's not gonna work, but that's fine. It's fine. 尾巴 makes sense. 那那双猫没有尾巴。
那只猫没有尾巴。
那只 what? Oh, that's 只 Oh yeah, that's right. Oh wait, hold up. What does shuang look like? Oh, it's the pair. Yeah, that's 那只 Yeah, 那只 animal counter. Right. My
尾
bad.
巴，优秀，
优秀 excellent, elegant, outstanding. Still out. Okay, someone who's outstanding is excellent at what they do and very elegant in how they do it. Fair enough. Honestly, outstanding would also kind of go with like skilled, dexterous. Like if you flux or flex a synonym, you can go with like dexterous wherever. 优秀 probably. 他有一个优秀的才 something 才华 talent. Another way to say talent. So there's so many. Oh my gosh. Oh my word. There are so many words that deal with like complimenting, like saying excellent, extraordinary, talented, genius, skilled. Ooh. Brain is swarming with synonyms, and that's great. Actually, that's really great, because at a later stage we're gonna start writing synonyms for each other. Like we're gonna say like, oh, it's kind of like this, but I use this word in this situation. I use this. So we're starting to develop the idea of, yeah, there are other words we could use, and it's gonna be a matter of taste, unless it's a matter of native speech, right? Like you look, it's like, oh, okay, so that word instead of this word, interesting. And that to me is when it gets really exciting. Like for me, English is, if one speaks English, I think that's this part is, it feels very comforting for myself personally. So if one continues to develop English past their high school days or their college days, even more so, being able to dynamically impart nuance to your diction, your word choice and whatnot, creates that element of discovery that is incredible. At least it's nearly palpable, but perhaps underappreciated, right? So these particular words that define, or like I would say highly characterize my different forms of speech in English, when I'm ebb and flowing between let's go and that is quite an auspicious circumstance. It's definitely where we're getting close. Although, because we're only learning vocabulary, that's what is this like? I feel like my word discovery, this feels like middle school. We're about in middle school territory, which is probably where this is too. So in terms of making an analogy to formal education, I think where I am in Japanese and Chinese is probably around middle school. And what did I do in middle school? I didn't talk a lot. I didn't speak a lot. I did this. I learned vocabulary. I kept listening to people. I imitated, and I only spoke when appropriate. So for me, I'm echoing a lot of the things that I've done to get to this moment. I mean, the irony here is a lot of people talk about think like when you were a child. Well, the good news is I don't feel like I ever thought like a child, according to these people, because according to these people, children think not with their heads, but with their feelings and, obligations. But when I was learning English, no one was obligating me to expand my English past a college level when I was in middle school, right? So I can't, I'm not often relatable to a lot of individuals. I didn't concern myself with specific things like going out and talking like other kids do. I was learning vocabulary and I loved grammar and whatnot. So take it with a grain of salt. I ironically, or maybe coincidentally, am reliving a lot of my nostalgia when I was younger. I'm in the middle of my middle school to high school phase of my learning process for Japanese and Chinese. I absolutely love vocabulary. I love creating the relationships outside of its context and then providing context sentences. That's how I engaged in the English language. And with those building blocks, I continued to build up. Like I was constantly building up. And it's a incredibly transformative experience. Going top down is definitely how I would say naturally adults would like to learn, because dispensing with all of that complexity in the social norm would be very emotionally stressful. I don't think it's intellectually improbable, like, difficult. When you're building blocks, it does simplify things, but it also becomes incredibly difficult and overwhelming, largely due to unfamiliarity. When you're a kid, it's lots of things get thrown at you. But if you're one of those middle school or high school students that say, nah, I learned this and I learned this for a month and it's everything just spills out of your brain, then we can't relate. When I learn something, it stays in my brain, because the first thing I do when I learn something is I apply it. I apply it to something. So that's kind of what we do here. We apply it and not repeating it, applying it to some sort of memory. So I'm really getting into the groove now. Things are even far more exciting than we started, as opposed to, I get the impression that this is where people start grinding down. They start slowing down and being like, oh yeah, I need to step back and relax and whatnot. I'm hitting the gas now. This is tingling my neurons. We have enough foundation and basic general coverage of vocabulary, where now the existing new vocabulary can be tied to foundational vocabulary. So you can somewhat makeshift explain what outstanding is. 很好, this 很好的人, right? 很好的人 is also outstanding to some extent. A good person is outstanding to some extent. So, 我的最好的朋友是优秀, right? 优秀的what is this? 才华, right? 才华. I believe my best friends are outstandingly talented, or has an outstanding talent, right? Let's see.
他有一个优秀的才华。
Yeah. Anyways.
优秀阵容
阵容 is contained. So this contains what? 阵. This contains expression? Oh no, battle formation. Yeah, that's battle formation. Oh, a lineup? Oh, okay. I get you. Battle formation's a rough one. Yesterday, it came to me, but I think it was a coincidence. It took about 20 seconds. I figured I would end up pausing on battle formation, but it was kinda alright. It worked out yesterday. One of our new ones, right? All these are new ones. New characters. The lineup. Alright. I cast. Interesting. 阵容 not 人阵容这是什么？这只这只这支这支球队有很强的阵容。
这支球队有很强的阵容。
球队 So this counter team have a very strong of a lineup, right? So this team has a strong lineup. Fair enough. Okay.
阵容
I still think a lineup and formation is fine. Yeah, formation is fine. Pass is great. What's another way to express a lineup? You can kind of... I'll flex the team as well. Okay. Alright. Alright, let's get this.
尺寸
尺寸
冬季
son of a bee sting. 笑 I missed the 5. I hit the 4 instead. Second pointer finger.
阵容优秀
优秀
尾巴
尾巴 Alright, next 5 恶化 evil change to worsen. Okay, or evil transform. Oh yeah, that's right, transform or to become. I should add become to this in order to reinforce one of a weakness over the other one. We had a long discussion yesterday about the subjunctive, and I was flexing too much of this English subjunctive when we were talking, but I realized that when you in part may, possibly, feasibly, potential, you end up naturally leading into the subjunctive. And I realized that what they're really referring to when they talk about the subjunctive mood in English was the common pattern usage of using the base verb. So they were specifically, the subjunctive mood was referring to the verb usage, like the nature, the state of the verb, and that's that the verb stays in its neutral or basic form. So like instead of conjugating, saying like agrees or agreed, it just says agrees. So I potentially agree with you, right? And then agree is in its base form. So a lot of times I realize that the thing I thought makes the subjunctive is not quite what linguistics use for the subjunctive. I did a little bit of reading in the background because yesterday this person's was it Egan Carr was very enthusiastic, despite we have a language barrier over English, was very enthusiastic about linguistics, and that passion really led me to realize that maybe I should pick up some linguistic terms, like understand at least things. And cases is what I delved into yesterday, and then the subjunctive, because we talked about cases and the subjunctive, and I feel like I was far away out of my element. And that was sufficient enough to encourage myself to understand that despite a language barrier, I also have quite a lot of English deficits, right? That's one of the wonderful things about learning a language. You can also reflect on your native language, and mine happens to be English, I suppose. Sometimes I often don't feel like my command of the English language is sufficient in being an educator in language learning. While at the same time, I do recognize that I believe statistically that if I were to get evaluated based on my expression or my communication style when it comes to the diversity of people I may be able to communicate with, I ended a statement with a preposition. That's my bad. I would say still pretty much above average. I have a distinct feeling that I'm severely underestimating what the average proficiency in English is nowadays, right? Like the level of execution in speech and writing. I feel like my writing has quite suffered, or not necessarily suffered, but neglected in exchange for my heavy emphasis now on listening and speaking. And certainly I am not listening to other people per se in a one-to-one conversation, but I am curating and practicing a lot of my speech now. My speech has taken prominence over writing. I would say prior to my 20s, my vibrant 20s in age, speech was on its way to replacing my forms of writing. And now my typing and my typos, they really shine through when I'm using SRS. The reason why they shine through is because modern technology has become also my crutch. So when I earnestly say from time to time that typing and technology are great as long as you are aware of what the automation is taking away from, like is compensating, I would say, or practice for you. It's great to know what a word is like this, or what a word looks like and whatnot. It does not necessarily compensate for your output. I would say there is an underappreciation for output, largely due to the nature that input requires maybe a disproportionate amount of time of investment, right? Lots and lots of input, and eventually output follows, and it gets trivialized because a lot of people believe that with sufficient input, output takes a very low amount of time to do so. And I don't necessarily agree with that when it comes to other skills, but perhaps it is very true about language learning, as in learning the context of the language and using it as a mechanical output. However, output, there are specific skill sets that require output in order to develop and refine the input process along the way. And one of them deals with the mechanical nature of emotional balance between giving speech and not. Now, I've often wondered though, if you were to side by side compare someone who is a communication specialist versus someone who is a polyglot, are there methods or are there indicators that one is specialized in communication, as in vocal speech and nuance of presentation, versus one who is very knowledgeable and can execute a lot of mechanical usages, right? There is one thing to sound natural, and there's one thing to choose to sound natural or not, right? So that is often something that I'm interested in. Like, can I discern, being a novice, like a novice multilingual person, right? I have cursory knowledge. I'm colloquial in at least more than one language. However, my background, in my opinion, greatly emphasizes communication. And communication, while you can absorb a lot of that, communication also requires experience, and that experience involves the literal act of outputting in order to get like a mind, like a bit of a mind speech connection, right? And that is often underplayed and or like downplayed quite substantially when it comes to the acquisition of a language. Now the question is, does that principle downplay of outputting the language in order for it to corroborate the development of communication skills and then other factors that involve that literal output of communication, right? Oral speech and whatnot. Can you discern between someone who is a polyglot and someone who is monolingual, but they are a communication specialist, right? Can you tell when a polyglot is speaking, let's say, their primary language and a communication specialist? Can you tell the difference between the skill sets? Are they differentiable? Does learning a bunch of languages and then prioritizing inputs develop something that I feel communication requires a shuffle of it? I think there's a heavier lenience on output being used as feedback or input, right? You have to record yourself, you have to listen to yourself, you have to talk to someone else despite your level of language acuity. You look at someone else, you interact, and that informs your input. So I haven't been making this distinction before. It's becoming a bit more clearer that I can make some distinction between when I've decided to focus on communication with a target language versus learning and acquiring a target language. So I'm getting to a point, which I've talked about now, the point where I spend more time focusing on the communication aspect of using my target language versus language acquisition. And I believe that mirrors how English worked, in my opinion. I used my output and my interaction and experiences with other people in order to create the input, not seek input in order to lead to output. I don't necessarily find that is very relatable. When someone says input, input, input all the time and output will follow naturally, I'm apprehensive about that. In fact, I might be an outlier in the sense that I spend more time outputting despite my level of knowledge of a target language. And it's through those interactions. So the mindset is different. Maybe the consequence is still the same, where like practicing output in the manner that I like to do creates a substantial input. So this overlaps with people who insist that a great way to quickly acquire a language is to talk to someone else who has knowledge of that language. Yes, however, the mindset is a bit different here. When you hear the language learning pros and trends, input, 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 that's, to me, the mindset is different. That's not input. You're looking to output the things you learn, and you gain that input because you're seeking output, in my opinion. So what I mean is order of operations. It still overlaps with each other. Like, I talk to people with the mindset that I get to apply the things I learned immediately, as vigorously as possible. And by coincidence, downstream of it, it provides input for my level of understanding and feedback for my level of understanding, while also creating more and more motivation and interest to get more input. So it's kind of a little, I know I'm being picky about this. I believe, in my opinion, that this is one of the core aspects of someone who stays and continuously and consistently interested in the things they're doing compared to someone who may lose interest because there is no feedback, no form of application or reward or consistent idea that you are being able to learn useful things. And it is crucial, in my opinion, very crucial, not absolutely necessary, but significantly impactful when someone is consistently proactive and have feedback. So when I hear input all the time, yes, it works if you believe that you don't need any feedback, you don't need to engage in any reward, you have the greatest of disciplines and persistence and due diligence, all of that stuff. Despite all of that, I believe I'm fairly well disciplined. I mean, working on a project for over 7 years and possibly not working out is probably something that I would say is going to support the necessary input all the time theory, right? But I'm not necessarily going to entertain that. I believe all or none's incredible exaggerations and looking for necessity as opposed to sufficiency paints a very idealistic and unrealistic situation. And one of them is encouraging someone to believe in a process without developing the necessary skills to even to believe in a process that vindicates. Is it vindicate? Maybe it allows the person to not have to develop skills to understand what is feedback, how to exchange ideas, how to acquire and integrate ideas, right? While through the interaction. So if you're inputting only all the time, you're assuming. So the person that's presenting this is assuming that by the time you have chosen to learn a secondary language, you're assuming that person has all the problem solving skills and critical thinking skills necessary to, whenever they're doing the input, they're doing it in a manner that is providing feedback, adequate learning, like constant motivations, how to stay proactive, how to even stay active in it. All those skills, in my opinion, no longer is a given in today's society. So my greatest gripe at the moment, like one of my various harsh, like most direct pushback on individuals who are very, very well known for being polyglots. They have long experiences. Their theories work very, very well, provided all of these things are in place. And in reality, after interacting with not that many people, my sample size is very small. Over the year and a half, I think I might have interacted with like 70 people. But of those 70 people, I would say more than 70 of those people do not exercise critical thinking or problem solving skills. They exercise what they know to believe in the process. And then what they hope for is they stick with the process in order to reap those rewards. But when I speak to them about critically thinking and analyzing and offering advice, they do not share, in my opinion, the obvious signs of people who know how to do the things that involve engaging in output. So what are those things? Knowing how competent you are. Knowing you are becoming more competent. Being motivated, consistently motivated. Interacting with other people as a natural basis for acquiring feedback. Exchanging ideas in order to acquire feedback and improving the input process. Those things are often not part of the discussion at all. It's about, oh, this method works. How? Well, it just works. Lots of people use this. You do this and you're describing what the process, you're describing the procedure. You're not answering the reason for those steps. Like how do they interact with you? What are you extracting from it? So all those. So in the future, it's great that maybe the method will churn out a couple people who somehow by coincidence have the willpower to do so. But ultimately, they, in my opinion, go on to spread that passive trust situation, and I believe those consistency will decline over the years, because now more and more people are being told what to do and not absorbing or integrating why they do it and how they decided to do it despite knowing the knowledge of doing so. And then when something goes wrong, your method fails. That's period. And they don't learn from it. There's no repercussion or consequence other than your product sucks and it's not for them. So I feel like a lot of times these ideal methods come with a big disclaimer, but it's not, they already have like terms of service and whatnot that explains that if it doesn't work for you, then go find something else, right? I personally think that's very business oriented. Fair enough. That is very fair business, right? And I often defend the people who are trying to help. Now, at the same time, when someone fails, where do they go? It's not like they stop existing. So, and for those who are successful, are they more inclined to promote your product or promote that engagement or promote the life, right? I would say no, actually. Largely because a lot of the current ideal methods are emotionally unintelligible, or they're either emotionally unintelligible because it's obfuscated by business and buzzwords, or they are emotionally apathetic. They're non-sympathetic or non-empathetic, where oh, you failed, work harder, here are the steps that you need to work harder. Like not why, or why you're getting or trying to ascertain or encourage the person to figure out what that is. It's this is wrong, so do more of it, right? It's incredibly mechanical, and without that, I do feel the people who are successful, they go on to be incredibly poor individuals who no longer have the skills to encourage, instruct, or teach, or even demonstrate those skills to other people. And that might not be the goal of anyone else, but for myself, I love learning things and then I love sharing them with other people. You present legacy and stuff by passing on your experiences. Yes, certainly you can start a YouTube channel and talk about your experiences. That's a great way. But does your product encourage that? In my opinion, the answer is no. It's a resounding no when it comes to having competitors, right? Think about it, in my opinion, in terms of good business. Are businesses in the line of trying to have a product in which they remove their dependency on that product? I don't think so. And oftentimes, even the most objective people, maybe even the most encouraging people, their products end up creating dependency without having in mind how to make a person not dependent on the product, largely because, objectively speaking, that's an exercise in diminished return. If you build a product in order for them to wean off your product as quickly as possible, that's not a great business model. So I'm not here in it for the business. So naturally, in my opinion, it would be fair for me to say that I typically take the point of view of a consumer who wants to consume a product for a limited time because that product teaches me how to not be dependent on that product. So here I am hearing input only, always watch what I'm doing, and then all I see there is it doesn't teach you how to do anything. Like, what I mean is, it doesn't teach you how to do the learning process independently, right? And it might sound a little bit pedantic, but that is the part that no one cares about. Like, to be fair to the public, most people do not care about that part, extracting how something works and then taking it with you. They want results. So it's ironic that when someone says, oh, Duolingo doesn't teach you anything, it's like, I don't think most of these products teach you anything. And what I mean by that is the part that they say Duolingo doesn't teach. What is the part that Duolingo doesn't teach? How to use the, like most people will say, well, how to speak, how to do the end game, right? The integration of all that without relying on Duolingo anymore. That's the same for every other product. Like when someone says, oh, you should use this immersion tool, it's like, why don't you do it yourself? You're not able to. Okay, then this tool will be effective, right? And then when you finish using that tool, have you learned how to do it on your own? Probably not, right? The tool isn't telling you, hey, I think this video is great, but while you have the time, try to analyze the elements of this video that makes it interesting to you. Now go out and try to do that yourself by thinking about these particular steps, right? Make a list of the elements that you see that are recurrent in a video that strikes your interest. Make a list. That's gonna bog down the language learning aspect. So oftentimes I think these things are unintentional. When someone is hyper-focused on a specific result, the holistics are lost in the process. So when you want to really pin down the fastest way to acquire a language, then the product will reflect that. However, in spite of that, there is still, in my opinion, not many clear evidence in which a product is also attempting to educate the person about why all this stuff works as it's working. So the problem solving skills and critical thinking skills are non-existent in these products. And the products that I'm using now, no, non-existent. There's non-existent. Like, for example, there's no explainer or encouragement of saying, oh, hey, if you don't like this, then this is all implicit, right? It's the thing that everyone says Duolingo doesn't teach you anything, because there's no aid or intuition or explicit instruction on how to do this yourself, right? That's the part that people think Duolingo doesn't teach you anything. Duolingo uses implicit things. This is implicit too. The instructions are, it's implicit that you focus on a primary definition. It is implicit that there are alternative things. It's implicit that you can add synonyms. Now the question is, this is all the stuff that's intuitive or meant to be intuitive. So you're not actually learning anything new here about how this stuff works. The question is, how do you apply this stuff? How do you do it? Like, how do you in the future look at a word and most of the time I use it in this context, and then now I tend to use it in 3 different other contexts. So this would be the primary use and this would be the alternative use, right? No, you extract the information and you don't learn, there's no incentive or ways of weaning you off of what the technology is meant to do. So how does this relate all the way back to the first thing that sparked this slight digression? I don't want to hit this over too hard. Autocorrect. When something continues to do something for you and then you engage in doing something without that thing, autocorrect. I make a lot of typos. I think my typing consistency has declined over the years, but it's not because I'm no longer functioning, as in my function and consistency, my typo is preventing my productivity. Technology is compensating for that. So I've become very accustomed to typing things, but not realizing that I'm making typos. This is very much analogous to input only, and trusting the process that the person understands that eventually they may or may not have inconsistencies. I feel that that's very idealistic, and I have reservations. Maybe I don't entirely disagree wholeheartedly on the whole like input all the time and is sufficient for output, but at the same time, I don't necessarily think it would make me comfortable to tell someone that I clearly understand you lack integration or application or any form of critical thinking, right? At this point, like you didn't give me any evidence of that. And then asking that person comfortably to say, trust the process. Like oftentimes trusting the process involves that person understands how the process works, not blind trust, not like a trust me bro process. It's more like trust me, the method will allow you to be independent, is what I usually think of when I think of sufficiency. It makes you independent, and I disagree that input only makes one guaranteed or sufficient. Well, okay, it is sufficient. How often is it sufficient? It's a statistical probability, in my opinion. So, like the way that person words, like these people word, it sounds like it's guaranteed, as in if you trust the process in the right way, whatever the right way is, it's undefined, right? You can come at me and tell me, oh, it's really defined. I would love you to define what that is. You know, the person's background, their ability to critically think and problem solve. Like, explain how trusting input only without any requirements of critical thinking and problem solving, explain how that works, right? If you trigger something like, oh, eventually you'll connect the dots and apply this method with that, that's critical thinking and problem solving. So you're integrating ideas together from your inputs. Well, there are individuals now, I would say quite a lot, maybe even the significant body of people who don't connect the dots. They don't actively extract information when they're inputting. They don't know what the meaning of this word in relation to other words. A lot of the natural processes that are involved in those ideal cases have to be in existence, and then eventually when someone says, oh, it'll be sufficient, eventually you'll output, there's an argument that statistically it's unlikely that they'll ever reach output because they have to integrate the information that they've acquired. You could end up sounding like a native person with no critical understanding or problem solving of those words. Like, you can still get someone who sounds native but speak like, I don't know, a kid learning how to read Shakespeare or something. Like, you get robotic, like natural robotics, as in, oh, I hear a lot of people say this, so I'll say this here. The attachment and emotional intelligence and critical thinking and problem solving necessary to adapt to conversation, in my opinion, is not formed necessarily from inputting only. It requires output. So anyways, that's a thought in my mind right now. I'm not saying it's true or not. It's a null hypothesis, or it's a challenge that I either need to prove, disprove. It's a working theory that allows me to understand I should consider all the opponents and all the angles, right? As opposed to blindly trusting something. The irony here is the reason why I'm doing this is because it's an exercise in critical thinking, which I do earnestly believe is not a requirement to get results. It's a great skill to have that enables people to communicate, right? So I have met wonderful people, I believe, who know a lot more Japanese than me, and I'll take their word that they sound very native and native-like, but the way they talk, I'm not impressed, in my opinion, personally. So when someone says, oh, you should watch this person teach grammar, or you should watch this person, they sound native-like. I watched a video and I'm like, they're not teachers. And what I mean by that is they're very skilled, someone's going to learn from them, but the people who are learning from them are also actively learning from a lot of other things. That makes the process sufficient. Now, do they show evidence that they're great at communicating? Not really. Not particularly. They sound great. They speak their mind, express their opinions and whatnot the way they want, and then people resonate with them. However, their instructions are like, okay, let's go over this stuff. This is what that stuff is. This is what that stuff is. Okay, so now how do you use it? Like, well, you use it using these forms of examples of native examples. And I'm like, okay, awesome. And that's where it ends, in my opinion. And that's great. I'm not sure if I form the same level of connection. In English, I want to create and pave roads, express things that are eccentric as well, you know, a bit esoteric or even playful. And I think aiming to do that brings a whole nother dimension to applying yourself. Not for everyone, but personally, it's great to know what a native person sounds like. And at the same time, I don't live in Japan. I could try to sound native when I'm in Japan, I suppose, or like do what Japanese people do. At the same time, I think it's incredibly liberating and rewarding when you're able to transform something. And I'm going for that end game, not necessarily the end game of trying to be like everyone else. Again, a difference of culture. So we're engaging in cultural exchange. I can appreciate that in a country that reveres on conformity, that when I am in that context, I like to believe I will operate as to the best of my ability. However, at the same time, I think to encourage people to want to do things and whatnot is, in this day and age, especially on the internet, it can be very daunting when your whole life's aspect of learning something is so that you can be exactly like someone else or exactly like a standard. It's kind of humorous, in my opinion, that those who are very successful at acquiring a lot of languages, when the undertones of the success of their life experience is that they have engaged in the creative process themselves. They read books that they want to read. They establish eccentricities and exoteric knowledge that they are interested in. They participate in things that they already do in their lifestyles, while at the same time their methods can be misconstrued by suggesting that there's a standardization for how to do all of that, you know, the eccentricity part of things. It's not a coincidence that the vast majority of successful people who learn a language that eventually discovers that it is their eccentricity and their interest that pave the way for the maintenance and or even the acquisition and fluency of a target language. Like, this person really, really loved to do this thing, and that's what they did. I think most of those products that emphasize those things allow someone to get the foundations and then be able to explore on their own, right? And that's kind of how I look at HanziHero and Wanikani. So I don't want to give anyone the idea that I'm here saying, oh yeah, you can become fluent in I say the same thing for Duolingo. Like, who said that? What said that? Who even claimed that? I would like to think that the accredited, very credible polyglots out there would also suggest that that's not true. But man, business and accolades and clout is a heck of a drug. So at some point you could believe it, but honestly I don't. I might attract some opponents for that, definitely, but it's very different. The product tries to capture a semblance of that person, and then when you see their YouTube channels or things that they talk about, it's constantly focusing on applying the things that maybe their product will give you the foundations for. And then they say, oh, I just do what I like. I travel to the place because I like to travel to the place. What if you don't like to travel to the place? Right? That's where the critical thinking and problem solving part comes in. If you don't want to travel to a place, or you don't have the money to travel to a place, how do you do it in a different way? By probably not continuing to use that product. Right? I don't know. Just me. There's something really elementary about the learning process that encourages critical thinking, and I think it's absent. And in my opinion, I would even argue a little strongly that it is a disservice to the learning process. It reductively makes the learning process sound far simpler and possibly even unrewarding. The learning process is beautiful. It's fantastic. It's one of the greatest, it's one of your greatest skill sets as a human being. And yet it gets reductively streamlined all the time by flavorful jargon and, in my opinion, also incredible seniority that's lacking emotional understanding, because reasonably these individuals also do not have time to understand or participate in the cohort that are interested in their language, or like interested in doing the same thing. What you think, in my opinion, this is one of the struggles with longitudinal experience and study, like even in science, right, in empirical science, is the idea that when you finally develop and hone your methods and theories, the question is if they are applied to a cohort. Does the cohort exhibit the same conditions in which you have acquired these theories and methods? Does your method coincidentally accommodate these changes? Personally, I think the use of the current methods that rely on maybe 22-decade-old methods that are curated over the years are coincidentally efficacious initially, but does not emphasize the or does not compensate for what the skills that may or may not be present anymore. And that one of them is due diligence, which clearly Duolingo has in spades, imparting due diligence or compensating for a lack of due diligence. And discipline, right? Discipline and critical thinking. It's pretty palpable when I've developed this routine to ask people, oh, so why did you start? Why did you stop? What do you do differently now? And most of the time, it's because there's a new fad going around, new method, new app, new tool. Rarely is it, oh, I've reflected upon this and I've used this, so I modified this and I integrated these. Rarely. And maybe that's the world we live in now. And I'm kind of curious how dependent, technologically dependent we'll become in the future. I've become dependent. I use the antidote, right? So the antidote that I use is autocorrect. When I'm typing SRS, do not autocorrect. Like these guys, like there's no autocorrect on these things. And even typing isolated English words, my accuracy is off the charts. Like it's tolerable, I would say, but it's fairly clear that despite even being attentive to these things and being aware, output is necessary for the consistency, and output in a way that you can observe and see. So I don't think input only provides that. And emphasizing input only, in my opinion, plays to the complacency of your target audience. So in my opinion, it actually discourages the final acquisition of a language, or it indirectly sacrifices that need to do that. And some apps and some places kind of encourage that to some extent. They're like, oh, hey, now you can do that, but it ends up being the community that discovers that and then echoes those. The product themselves do not do that. So the products themselves are made in a way to create dependency, right? Its convenience becomes its double edge. And I can kind of sort of see that as I'm using Wanikani and HanziHero. So I'm ever reminding myself I should bring something in, I should do something else, I can do something else in order to still use it to bolster my Wanikani and HanziHero, right? The act of connecting the dots without something explicitly constantly making you or connecting the dots for you is a skill that is unique to you. So when someone says, I've tried every method possible to learn a language, even though I really want to learn a language, I don't understand why I can't acquire a language. That's probably what I'm talking about. So those are the end consequences. But knowing why that is or how that is wouldn't lead you to the case of not figuring out why and how. Like, a person that can reach that point is a person that might not necessarily have been encouraged to exercise critical thinking, problem solving skills. Like, a lot of times when someone says, I don't know why this isn't working, by the time you get to that point, I would say over 50% of the time, that person probably participated in a trust me bro product that did not give them the level of troubleshooting skills in order to know when it is not working, and therefore eventually they are enriched to believe that they can't solve a problem of which it was of their own creation, and it was exacerbated by a product that guaranteed results without telling them what happens when it fails. So that's something to keep in mind. So if I don't become good at, like, for example, if I don't read characters any better than I used before, how do I know that? You could trust the system. SRS does that to some extent, but you can do better. You can do more. You can definitely do more. You can use that, apply it somewhere else. You can explain that to someone else. You can compare it with someone else, right? You can even ask a native speaker how they hate the way the synthetic voice sounds. That's comparison. That's allowing you to integrate feedback and whatnot. You can have people yell at you that Duolingo sucks and then ask them why, right? Or ask them to point out examples in Duolingo. Critical thinking, problem solving skills, in my opinion. Something that's bad can be the boon of your rigor, right? Consistently correcting something that is bad, pointed out by another person, also reinforces problem solving and critical thinking skills. Oh, this part is very bad. All right. How do we make it less bad? That's not an option for most. I feel like that's not an option or even interesting or remotely interesting to a vast majority of people. And those same people are those people who would say, that's bad because I know it. I'm like, I don't think you do. You know it because everyone else agrees. Like, if I had to take a gamble, describe it. Tell me what it is. And oftentimes, they would describe something that's either irrelevant or it's measured differently than what they originally thought. Right? HanziHero is bad at teaching you how to speak in paragraphs. It's like, I know, right? It's horrible. Like, it's terrifyingly terrible at writing paragraphs. Tell me when you find a paragraph in HanziHero. You know? Like, critical thinking skills, you can sound like you're a critical thinker and a problem solver by stating the obvious. And I think a lot of times that is how criticism works. When you don't like something, you state the obvious of the things they don't lack, not how it impacts or how it works or why it's necessary to have that in the scope of the design intent. And then when you like something, you state everything that it does have, which are obvious as well, but do not talk about how lacking certain things or having certain things impact the overall design philosophy of the product. When someone says input only, if you're using input only, what does that say about you? It means, in my opinion, more than 50% of the time, you're afraid of output. If you're using a product that's a mix of input and output, then we have a different outlook, right? So you can work on both if you want. But generally speaking, someone who strongly is selected for input only is suggesting strongly that that is their most comfort way of looking at things, right? So if you see me do other things like play video games and talk about anime and digress about behavior and stuff, I'm not only interested in one thing. I'm far more interested in a lot of things that come together to produce potentially a single readout for people who care. I care about communication so much, just as well as language learning. So when someone comes at me and say, well, this isn't the most efficient way to learn Japanese, I agree. Or Chinese, I agree. Because they specifically only said Chinese. Like, well, you could learn more vocabulary in a natural way if you listen to native content. I agree. The question you may want to ask yourself is, have you gotten your metrics correctly? Right? But I don't think that's necessary in today's communication style, because if you know what's trending, most people are probably going to think the same way. I know that's a little reductive, but if you had to take a gamble, I think when it comes to language learning, the first thing you think about is, what's the fastest way to get to fluency? I need to understand all of these trends, because those are the questions I will be answering. And being able to answer those questions in a very useful or predictable way makes me a little bit agreeable. And that agreeability may offer me the opportunity to apply and challenge their critical thinking skills. So I'm sure a lot of people have come to realize, or sufficient people, maybe like 10 people over these last year and a half, have come to know that they either like or dislike my ulterior motives. I refer to them as ulterior motives because they're ulterior largely because the people I talk to who no longer talk to me found that, oh yeah, I don't only care about being fluent in Japanese and Chinese and whatnot. So therefore, most of the time I say things that are irrelevant to their interest, and therefore they leave, right? Even intellectual people have conflicts of interest. Like, it's not interesting to see you learn in an inefficient way. Goodbye, right? No hard feelings. That's professional awareness, right? Meanwhile, though, those people who have stayed across my lifetime online, we are more than the sum of our parts, right? We share laughs, we joke, we introduce ideas to each other, with or without another language. And then sometimes we say, hey, why not? Let's do it in a different language. I think those create independence. When you say, oh, I don't like you anymore because you don't use Anki and I use Anki, that's dependency. That's a dependency like on something that isn't even human. And personally, I think this world operates like that now, or the internet operates like that. While for me, I try to surround myself with people who I trust, that trust me, and I like to think that they're independent. I don't want them to be dependent on me. Even that. But personally, being dependent on a human person versus an object or a method or a concept is probably far more, in my opinion, rewarding in the long run. So when you come at me and say, oh, you learn a crappy way, so I can't be friends with you, I just wanted to tell you I hate you for using a method that I don't depend on. Okay, that's great. For the sake of both of us, I'm glad we already had this talk, so therefore we no longer have to cross paths or continue to foster or attempt to produce communication skills and critical thinking skills that allow us to reach a compromise and become friends, despite our indifferences, or differences, or even malice, right? This is inspired by yesterday's conversation when near the end, Eggenkar talked about wars and how they're still having film clubs that involve people who may be represented by ideologies, by individuals who effectively do that. They don't exchange ideas. They don't think about exchanging, compromising, or negotiating. They think about attaching themselves to things that aren't other human beings. So that's probably where I would leave my rhetoric. Are you one of those people? Like, I have two great friends who I've met over gaming, and we don't play any games that overlap with each other. And you might be thinking, oh man, then what do you do for fun? We exist and exchange ideas with each other. Despite having vastly different interests. Yeah, the three, I would say the two that I speak with most often now, rarely any interest aligns. And yet we can still establish empathy. So that's one of those things I don't think consistently becoming dependent, creating cult-like status, echo chambering, and then like I do hold, in my opinion, people who are professional about this, who's making money, who's also trying to spread interest about something. I do hold them negligent for encouraging these things. Like, it is part of their obligation as someone who's dispensing a service of which they hold influence, power, and money. So yeah, I'm a bit strict about professionals. And those professionals, in my opinion, smile, they talk about their things. It's very genuine, right? It's very happy. But meanwhile, I would say professionally, no one is legally holding them obligated for that. But in my opinion, it takes a lot of integrity to be aware of how your product and or your theories and methods are actually creating the opposite effect. It's actually discouraging language learning. So I wonder what they think about that. Maybe they have raw data that suggests that them going around peddling their seminars and stuff, and they are entirely unaware of how unusually weaponized their methods are nowadays. Like, I did see some videos of some of these individuals like, oh, sometimes it comes down to there are other methods out there and we don't want to discriminate, right? But man, boy howdy, the internet has a way of weaponizing things, and weaponizing them in a passionate, not malicious way. Again, I don't think any of these people are malicious. Passionate. The word I would say is passionate. Maybe aggressively passionate. And I appreciate those people. They opened my eyes to how learning and language learning has become weaponized. And the people that they use to weaponize their ideas, I like to believe that they're completely oblivious. But if they're not oblivious to how their ideas are being weaponized online, they are negligent. And that to me is a sign of professional integrity weakness. They can keep advertising and keep talking about how their product does things, but if they are aware that their products and their theories are being misconstrued and being used to discourage and achieve the opposite effect, I like to think that they have enough personal integrity to address that. I will leave it at that. I'm sure whoever's learning Japanese, I think usually it's Japanese, whoever's learning Japanese and selling Japanese and stuff, I've seen a few of those content creators and or professionals have addressed some of those things. So I'm not saying everyone, but you can't help but think that being a public figure who has all the influence, for myself, living with the idea that your legacy is being weaponized is kind of disappointing. All right, that's just a thought. Another thought. Sorry. I really told myself I wasn't going to do this again. I have so many thoughts lately. Okay. All right. Do I want that? Oh, wait, one last thing. Do I want that responsibility? Absolutely not. I'm not a person who can handle that right now. Would I be able to step up to the game? Only time will tell if that ever happens. But for now, I strategically try not to place myself in a position of high influence and using hyperbolic and strong language to promote something that I passionately believe in, since I'm not an expert in these things. I think becoming an expert and specialize in something that allows one to step up and be able to have the professional integrity and experience to back up the claims and mitigate negligence. It's not entirely clear that there's a guaranteed success when that happens. So for myself, it hasn't happened yet. I don't wield influence. I don't sell products. I don't use hyperbolic language. about something that I'm incredibly passionate about and believe in all intents and purposes to be an expert in. So I can't really say if I would be successful. So this isn't necessarily a conversation about hypocrisy. The cards are not in it for me. So it would be interesting. I could be challenged one day to do that. Like, oh, hey, would you be the face of something? It's like, you know what? Let's try. And I could explode. I could implode. Who knows? But since I'm not in that position, it's not me who's being negligent, right? And I earnestly could see negligence when it comes to education. Especially when you're making education for a target audience who clearly doesn't meet your standards, right? It's kind of like having a product that sounds very provocative because the person is very provocative, but they are out of touch with their target audience. They don't do market research, or they don't think market research is important, for example. So what are the skills that your target audience lacks? Does your product produce that? It does not, a lot of times, especially with language learning. Like, does your product produce communication skills? That's my personal bias. I think most of these products, including the immersion, does the opposite. It makes communication skills optional, and that's the thing that I enjoy. So I do that when I'm not on stream. I'm doing that right now without using the product. So most of the time when people are talking to me, and I welcome you to ask questions or share your insights on how you promote yourself to have communication skills and instructional skills, expression skill, expression, forms of expression, in order to demonstrate to someone that you adequately understand the concepts. It doesn't have to be language. It can be anything else, right? So haven't really encountered that on a level that would mirror my own. I feel like that sounded a little narcissistic, but if there's anything I'm passionate about, is what I just said. So I haven't met someone who is reciprocated my passion in learning or understanding critical thinking skills and communication skills. I've seen other people, I've looked at other people who have parasocially who have those passions, but they're rarely in a realm of language learning. So that's where it ends, right? That's how to understand that despite someone's very skilled thing in something, it may not align with your very particular thing. I feel that when polyglots talk about their content and how it works and whatnot, they don't come from the perspective of communication skills. They come from the perspective of comprehension, and very much the comprehension of the language. And that's perfectly appropriate. It's something that I pay attention to. So it may not be very obvious to other people because they're disinterested. That explains why that I'm not wielding heavy influence about language learning, because my attention is divided between language learning and communication skills. Imagine a bunch of I still get this. I'll give you an anecdote to illustrate my point. When someone tells me they're learning Japanese and they're learning Chinese and they're learning a lot about the culture, and then they tell me emotional intelligence doesn't exist, all in the same day. How do you get better at communicating a different style or a different culture when you lack emotional intelligence. Oh, you just learn the patterns that they do. Oh, okay. That's not the same as understanding. That's mirroring practice. So if you're not interested in their culture, or if you say there's no such thing as like collecting emotional intelligence, developing empathy and sympathy, then how are you learning about another people's culture? You're learning the knowledge. Okay, but that's not the application of it. The application, emotional intelligence, is an output, not an input. You get a lot of input, certainly, like language. You get a lot of input, but sometimes it's disproportionately emphasized. Emotional intelligence is an output. It's not something like you amass. It requires output. So when you speak and you're saying, oh, I kind of feel fluent now, or like I can speak and connect with other people, and then you tell me you're learning a language for that, but emotional intelligence and communication skills are not important or optional. That's weird. That's weird to me. A little bit myopic. Just a little bit. Good. To worsen. Right. 恶化. 恶化. Or deteriorate. I wonder if this also... Oh yeah, deteriorate. Japanese. Akka. Right, akka. 他的病 what? 他的病情 situation 他的病情恶化 situation 病情 Okay. I wonder if this also means condition.
恶化，秀丽，
秀丽 elegant and beautiful. Does this take elegant too? No, just pretty. Okay. We'll just stick to beautiful. 它的容 something 它的容 something 非常秀丽 what do you look like? 意貌它的容貌非常秀丽。这座城市有着秀丽的风景 which is scenery 风景 okay. Oops.
秀丽，四季，
I do have a feature that I'm not sure if they're considering, which is you can toggle the translation off here. Still don't know if they're gonna add that or not. I think that's a great thing. Like it would do a blank, so like it would look like this first, and then you just click on it to reveal. So it would first hide this, right? And then you can read the context all you want. Then you would, it's kind of like this thing where you click on it and then the read comes up, right? But instead you can pick a mask, like mask these things for purposes that I use most of the time. I can tunnel vision well enough that I can read this without reading the bottom thing. But I don't think that may be very difficult for quite a lot of people. It's the same reason that people make arguments for subtitles. So when you're like watching a subtitle, the inclination is that if you have English subtitles and you're listening to Japanese, you'll read the subtitles. You'll get to the point where you read the subtitles. That's certainly true for people who don't have discipline, right? Reading this and translating this in my head, then reading the bottom is possible with these on there. But in order to remove all doubt, or in order to provide a mechanical hindrance, removing it literally is even more efficacious. So now you no longer have to be tempted, right? Reading, making it difficult to do the thing is mechanically useful. I don't have that problem largely because I spent most of my time mix and matching. Like when you listen to dialogue and you're reading subtitles, to listening to the dialogue and not reading subtitles. Now, how does that work? Well, there are a lot of times where I can't hear something because I'm not hearing it. I'm just reading their lips. There are times when I'm watching something else and listening to something else, right? This would be something, and despite having subtitles, I'm still listening to them. So I have quite a lot of different ways in which, regardless if a subtitle is there, I can focus on something else, which is through practice. I don't necessarily think I have the greatest selective attention. Personally, what my childhood has revealed to me is other people's selective attentions are fantastic, and I feel like I have a terrible selective attention. Cue the times when I'm sitting in class and I'm overly concerned about the kid next to me because someone would not get the kid a tissue and he's just sniffling. So because of that, I can't do a task. So I totally understand that. In this case, though, I've managed certain stimuli, so I can read these sentences very reliably without ever looking at the thing next to it, right? But that's lots of practice. I don't think it's something that people like to do, where, oh, hey, pretend like this isn't there. You just read this, look at it, and then look down. Or, oh, it's so close, you can't look at the next thing. It's possible. I'm going to say it's possible, but it's leaky, right? Having it literally not there, it's a guarantee. So having those features would be kind of cool. Like what happens if they added a feature where this is what the card looks like now? That'd be pretty sweet. Or you can move this to a different position, right? So then it wouldn't be in exactly your peripheral vision. That's kind of, video games do that as ways to remove the training wheels and whatnot. Your sight gets obfuscated, or your tells and stuff gets taken away, and that creates that challenge, right? Kind of like speaking a language, relying on Anki, and then when you go talk to someone, you can't use Anki and see what happens. But that's not progressive. It's a cold turkey situation. So to me, products like these, which I'm not saying Kevin is obligated to do this, it's great, it's wonderful to see products in which they, by the end of the use case of that product, that person has developed an end of life cycle independence from the dependency that was good for business, right? And yes, you could argue, oh, but if a person becomes fluent, then they no longer need the product. Yeah, but your product itself is not doing those things, in my opinion. Like someone says, oh, just use our product, you'll become fluent. In the end, that's why, in my opinion, when people look at a language learning product, they say, am I going to become fluent using this product? And then the product owner is like, well, there's no guarantee you'll become fluent. You'll improve and learn language, right? That to me sounds like, well, if using your product to learn isn't going to make me independent from the product itself, what am I going to be independent of? And does it help me with that? So, immersion product, for example, I like to believe that will put in effort into encouraging the person to determine how they're going to immerse in the product in the future. And you could say, well, many of those products will implicitly teach you that, right? Because they're doing it. And then, well, no, it's assuming your target audience these days know how to do that, know how to explicitly, implicitly, and subtextually extract process from it. And my experience is no, it's not the average person. The average like high schooler to college student do not extract information from your product design anymore. In fact, the biggest criticism about products these days is it's too implicit. There's no explicitness, right? You didn't tell me I needed to do this. You didn't show me how to do this, literally. So it didn't teach me how to do this, right? It didn't teach me how to make a flashcard. I was given flashcards. It didn't teach me how to translate from here to here without it being provided. And that's what I call input dependency that has been developed over the time. Like, you didn't make the attempt to translate this. I think there's a bias towards like translation keeps you from fluency. It's like, well, yes, I kind of agree with you to some extent because it creates input dependency. Like, you're dependent on a translation below in order to contrast or compare to the phrase above. But have you tried to translate this? That's those are two different tasks. And then have you tried to do the opposite? You look at this, express this in Chinese, right? So 一年, I need divided, which there are many ways to say divided. So fun, this is fun. They use fun, but there's also partition, right? I should be able to, but I haven't yet because I'm learning these words, right? I should be able to say something like divided or partitioned, separated, use like 别 or something. And then, into, it's like into. I don't think that's needed because I understand that in Chinese, no, right? And then you do the opposite. But I don't think that's what people are referring to as translations. They're referring to translations as, I know this sentence, it's provided for me, so then I know what this sentence is. Or I use it, I try to know what the sentence is, then I double check. This is explicit instruction. Very, very different than looking at a sentence. Tell me how you can express it in English in multiple ways. Look at this English sentence. Tell me how multiple ways you can explain it in Chinese. Whatever comes to your mind first, right? I wouldn't say 四鸡 right now because it's not something that comes off my tongue. I would say 四个鸡, which might not be natural, but the idea is to get from 四鸡 to 四个鸡, right? 4 of seasons or 4 seasons, like 4 things of seasons. I then learn the connections that I could just say 四鸡 for 4 seasons instead of using a counter. And I actually don't know if 个 can be a counter for seasons. All of this is happening at the same time. Like, I'm thinking about these things at the same time. The question is, when you're translating, are you thinking about these things at the same time? Like the cycle? Like, I don't know what a cycle is, but maybe we can use hui. Like something that's revolving. And then a cycle, yi hui, maybe. So, yi hui. That's 1 plus revolutions. Maybe that can also translate into a cycle, right? So maybe like 一会四季, a cycle, 1 cycle, 4 seasons. It might not be accurate. It might not be natural, but the idea is you're applying things you know, and you're doing them. You're constructing them, and that involves output, which people believe is a waste of time. And that's perfectly fine. This output is not... It's a waste of time if you're talking about if it's wrong for Chinese. Yeah, but it's also an output in critical thinking. Critical thinking and, critical thinking. You're trying to put together things that you already know. So how do you express? So how's this important when you talk to another person in the future? How do you learn from that other person in the target language? You try to express something with what you know, and then that other person can help point out from the output what requires an input. So when you're talking about feedback leads to critical thinking. So when I say, how do you express something like 一个 cycle, like 会 revolving, like what are there any ways to... But instead of saying it in English over time, you're gonna end up saying it in Chinese. It might be broken, it might be like not like the moment it comes out of your mouth, it's some native speech or properly grammar thing. The idea is no matter what level you are at, you feel natural in the sake of being able to take things you learn, regardless of how disjointed it is, and you can use them to do things like a puzzle game, right? So you have a puzzle game. Well, do you have to solve it in the correct way? Like, what I mean is, if someone solved this puzzle in one way, are you going to solve it in that one way? Or does this puzzle have multiple ways to solve it? And if it has multiple ways, that's closer to language learning. If it's one way, that's what people think, in my opinion, language learning is. They think there is one way to solve it, when in fact, in language learning, there's infinite ways. Probably. There are common ways. Of the infinite ways, there are far more common ways. So you could say not one way, but common ways to solve it. Things that are maybe more intuitive, and that's where all the other popular theories and methods come in, right? So in my opinion, it's fantastic to know that when I read this English sentence, I have lots of words that I can use, like how to express 4 of something, as opposed to 4 seasons as one phrase. Divided, multiple divides. Nian is still nian, but it's 一个年, but 一年 also implies 1 year, right? Cycle is a little bit like not the greatest at the moment. Spring chun is something with chun in it, right? We need chun. And again, 4 seasons because of this. And then here all, I would probably, 这里 is not where what I would use for here all. 这多，这都 yeah 这都 wait, is this 这里 yeah, I would probably say maybe 这 and 都 everything, right? Everything instead, and it might not come up grammatical or whatnot, but I'm still learning and applying the things I know, so that requires practice and output, in my opinion. If you don't do that anymore, then you don't have any problems to solve, because the only time you ever open your mouth and the only time you ever do anything is when it's perfect. The only time you'll ever speak to the only time you'll ever speak your target language is when you're speaking to the ideal native speaker, your ideal native speaker. So so who's wasting time, in my opinion? Like, you may make an argument, right? You're practicing other skills when you're not waiting for the ideal situation, and those skills might not be important. And for me, those skills are very important. Talking to other people, instructing other people, the stuff that I'm talking about are necessary skills to be efficacious in helping people. If you always operate on idealism, then you are very exceptional at being successful at selecting your targets, and those targets will be highly efficacious to you. So now you're like, yeah, immersion, input is the best. And then someone's like, well, how do I know that I'm getting progress? I need to know that I have progress in order to keep doing it. Well, sucks to be you. That person specializes in input only, so there's no output for it, right? So they have compromises. Okay. 四季seasons.
恶意
malice. Does that check out? Aki? No, ai. Oh, acute. Oh, I guess. It's slightly different, right? They use waru? No, they use aku, but not yi. Ki is the closest one that I can think of. Aki. Oops. Aki. I think for malice, evil energy as opposed to evil ideas, but maybe. Because what would this be? Akui? Ai? Ai sounds awful. Yeah, so it would end up being like akui? No, that sounds too much like a adjective. Evil ideas. 他的话没有恶意。Yeah. Her words do not have, right, malice. So her words have no malice.
恶意尺子
a ruler, that's fine. 尺子 silent child. 我家里有100尺子 Okay, so buy is for counter for trying to strike as me. Like maybe buy is for cylindrical things or rectangular, like long rectangular things.
尺子
尺子. All right. Oh, that was Japanese.
恶化
恶化
恶意
恶意
秀丽
秀丽
四季
四季
尺子
OK
末尾
末尾 Oh, the tail end or last tail end. And can I have tail end? I'm gonna say tail end. I think that works really well. The tail end, the end, the last, the tail end. That works idiomatically. Whatever, however you say idiom, and it's kind of an idiom thing. 末尾 so last tail end or end. 这本书的末尾有一个 something 时 something 时 horse. Oh, interesting. Horse salute. I don't got anything. Oh, Jing. Oh, interesting. Jing instead of Jing. Substitute the horse for a word. Jing shi. Surprise. Jing shi. This almost seems like it has a pleasant surprise to it. I feel like there might be more than one surprise, and one has like a somewhat of a negative feeling to it versus a positive feeling. This kind of strikes me as a, oh, there's a pleasant surprise at the end of the book. Don't know though. I don't know how common that is. There are definitely degrees of like, oh, that's good. Oh, that's good. And then, oh, that's really good, but it's still good. Like, it's still one word. So this one definitely much more positive looking. And yeah, much more positive looking. Or sounding as well. 这本书的末尾有一个惊喜。
末尾
末尾 last tail, right?
售票处
售票处 sell ticket location, ticket counter. Yeah, fair enough. 售票处 ticket office, ticket window. 售票处在大楼的一楼。Okay, so ticket counter is big buildings first, big buildings first floor. So the ticket counter is on the first floor of the building, right? 售票处
售票处 江水
Yangshui. Yeah, river water. Yeah, that's river water. Jiangshui. Jiangshui 加资 wait, 热 yeah, 江水热化 oh 热化 being of a picture. Interesting. Picturesque. Oh, can I do that with other things? Like 热好 like it's better esque, or like 热 I don't know, 热怕 or something, like it's scary esque or something. You just throw 热 anywhere. I'm kind of curious. I don't know, but it's funny. 热化 and they space it. Like Kevin does this thing where he spaces things. So you can see slight spaces where the units are for clarity of meaning interactions. So this 热 seems like it's functioning independently. So maybe you can insert a object here, like insert an object here, or a like a, yeah, it's probably an object. I don't think it would take an adjective. Possibly. Rule might, did I say rule? Rule might take place of 是, maybe. That's interesting. Ooh, I like it though. Like making like ish or esque or all kind of thing. Kind of like a techie, like techie situation. Yeah, Yangshui rule. Gotta remember that.
江水
Yangshui
弱
raw. Ooh, raw. Yaoi. Right, yaoi. Or or Jaku, right? Jaku. Raw. Rudolph is in the bathroom of the office, feeling weak. Oh, it's been a while, Rudolph. Well, when was the last time I've had a Rudolph? Are you? Rue? Just Rule? Yeah, just the recent one. Rule? Is that the only one that I have? Rule? Huh. Raw. I wonder why it's so... Huh. So he's feeling weak. He lies down on the tile floor in front of the stalls in the office gate, wearing his office attire because he's in an office building. Popping up some ice. Go on. On his forehead in the bathroom. Oh, okay. I guess there's no infirmary in the office building. His manager comes in with a bow and points it at him, saying if he keeps on being weak, he'll... Is that really necessary, Kevin? A bow. What the... How am I... You know... I got a different thing. I got a different thing for this, and I'm gonna use it. I guess it could be a different bow. I was thinking maybe like Rudolph is in the bathroom of the office, feeling weak. He tries to lie down on the tile floor in front of the stall. He's wearing a nice office suit with a bow tie, right? With a bow tie on. If you look at the side of a bow tie, like for example, if you place this, right? You might be thinking, well, MAKU, this doesn't look anything like a bow tie. But if you think about it, and you put this one, right? I can't. I'm so. Right, and then you put this one on top of it, right? It looks like a bow tie. It's the top silhouette of a bow tie. Maybe a sloppy one. Anyways, I mean, that's where the aesthetics of a bow tie comes out. But anyways, he's wearing a nice office attire with a bow tie, right? Because he's in the office. And he's got some, he's propping up some ice on his forehead. Then his manager walks in and helps undo his bow tie because he's worried. He's worried that the weakness, because he's weak, right? His manager's a caring person as opposed to like whatever. Hot dog. Raw. 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 Not used to saying that. 弱点. Whoops. 弱点. A weakness. Fair enough. 示弱. 示弱. Show weakness. Oh, okay. It's show weakness. 微弱. Faint. Okay. Interesting. That's a very complicated character. 薄弱. What is that thing at the top? Oh, it got bent. Fragile. 垂弱. 垂弱. Huh.
弱
弱
B
E. Close. Okay. I'm okay with this. B. Hey, right? Hey. Okay. The B. Bigfoot is in the bathroom of the house. Go on, where he is trying to close the saloon doors to the bathroom that hang upon the threshold. But a nerd comes in before he can do so. In his house? Bigfoot pushes the nerd down and grabs his glasses. After he kicks the nerd out of the bathroom, he uses the glasses to latch the saloon doors closed. Okay, that's fine. Maybe it's a Bigfoot sighter, you know, a nerd very interested in Bigfoot. He discovered his place. Close, shut, got it. B. BJ. Yeah, BJ. Shut up. BJ. What I would find really funny is you add Qing to it. Qing BJ. Please shut up. Like, wait, why are you trying to be nice and saying like BJ is not that great. It's like maybe like be quiet a little bit, like lower down. 请你说话说话小一点, or like speak a little bit less, right? Like say a little less, please. Like you say a little less, or like lower your volume. 请声音下一点, please. Slightly lower volume, please. That kind of thing, instead of just BJ. All I can hear is like 你闭嘴 你闭嘴 how do you say now? Like aggressively now. I think 现在 is too formal. I forgot how you say something. 你闭嘴啊 Okay, sorry. So I get giggly because I don't say this stuff too often. I don't tell people to shut up too often. In fact, I don't know if I confuse people most of the time. When I tell people to shut up, I'm always smiling because I just don't think that it's a personal reflex. If I'm being super aggressive or telling people that they can't say certain things, Most of the time, it's probably because I'm trying to joke around or be spunky or like moxie, you know, trying to be a little moxie for comical things. And I would have to say, if I have to be serious or try to insult someone, I already know I'm gonna do a terrible job. At least I don't think I'm intimidating. Not in that way. Like I could be intimidating because I'm overwhelming. That's a different story. But being malicious, intimidating is something that by principle I'm not going to be very effective at. Not the same as delivering bad news. I can most definitely be a person who can cripple someone by delivering bad news. Just straight up, unfeeling, cold-hearted, stoic bad news. Not so you can shut someone up in many different ways, but definitely not in the way that this is often used. Like my parents usually use something like 你小心 or something like I think that's something like you shut your face 小心 like shut your face right now. Xiaoxing, maybe? I don't know what the equivalent is. It's something like close yourself, like close off. Close is stop now, stop being you, stop existing. Like desist or something. Actually, I don't think I've gotten many negative words yet. Like desist or cease or something. I think we had seize, pursue, no steal. You just don't learn those words early, I suppose. Bankrupt is pretty negative. But it's more neutral a lot of times. Like, oh, they went bankrupt. It's like a state of fact. Dalby. Sounds like Dobby. Dalby. Pretty sure we have another bankrupt. And I don't remember it. Feng Bi. Jana. I don't know what Jana is. Oh, Jana might be the closer one to the other one. Jana is also go bankrupt, but I don't know. I haven't heard something that's close to it yet. Jana. That sounds almost like Jana, but Jia, maybe like price. Yeah. Nan, maybe like difficult, like no price, or Jana, maybe like something that deals with no price left or no funds, or interesting. That's the term I use whenever I need to say, oh, that place went out of business. Store Janalo, right? And Lao is like Janalo is closer to Cantonese, I guess. Instead of saying la, Janala, mo Janala, Janalo. I think that might be a Canto thing though. The low for instead of la, say low, Jalalo. Reflections. Closing ceremony. Wait, do we have ceremony? Sure. Is sure being used for ceremony? Oh, it is. Shiki? Shiki? Sure. Oh, no, wait, that's not sure. That's, not sure. That's, I want to say Chong. No, no, it is Shi. That's style. Oh, okay. What am I thinking of in terms of Chong? Okay, it's fine. Oh wait, I see it up here. I see tunnel vision. I could have just looked it up here, but what was I clicking it for? Oh, I was clicking it in case it's not Shi. What is this? B.
B.
Okay. I got you. Yep.
若
Roll. Okay. I keep forgetting who is there. Who is in the bathroom? Yes. 售票处。
售票处
Okay.
江水
江水。
B. 末尾
末尾。How did the more work? 末尾。Like, what was Moore's thing? Mario? Dead tree? Office? It's full of dead trees, quite a plumbing nightmare. Mario goes around throwing fireballs at all the dead trees, burning them down. And he does so to the last one. He sits there, content. Okay. Wow. More. I use my prototypic Joe Moore to remember. Zhuang. Zhuang. Zhuang scroll. Where have I seen you scroll? Zhuang. Julius Caesar is in the bathroom of the pawn shop. Man, he spends a lot of time in the bathroom. Where he is writing on a scroll while sitting on the toilet. Okay, toilet, bathroom, writing a scroll. He is writing laws for his future empire, and naturally wears a Roman headdress as he does so. Okay, the scroll is full of paper clips that mark various important parts in the scroll. The boss will be mad when he finds out because that scroll is an ancient treasure. And Julius is ruining it with his scribbles. But he doesn't have to be working at the pawn shop. He could own the pawn shop, you know? And he's writing a list. He's writing a list of okay. Julius Caesar went to the bathroom of his pawn shop, where he's writing on a scroll while sitting on the toilet. The scroll contains maybe all the laws, but also all the curated spoils and treasures of his conquest or something like that. And the scroll is filled with paper clips that mark all the valuable things. Law headdress also works too, though. That's fine. Scroll isn't, I mean, that's fair enough. Maybe we won't go that necessary. I think it works pretty well. Sichuan. 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 Test scroll. Roll. I think paper is pretty good. Questionnaire. Wenjuan. Oh, Juan. A spring roll. That's where I've seen it. A spring roll.
卷
Jen. Oh, it's Jen, not Chuan. Jen. Oh. Jen. Oh, yeah. Jen. Not Chuan. What is this then? Chun. Jen. Jen. That explains why it was confusing before. Huh. Jen. Interesting.
火
Or a companion that sounds like fire. Okay. Where have I seen you before? Leader with fire. Or oh, no idea. The Hulk is in the basement of the office building where he is trying to deal with a fire. Go on, that has broken out, consuming a bunch of memos and other partnerships. Oh, interesting. It was a pivot. Other partnership office documents. His companion co-workers have all run away, clearly valuing their life more than probably pointless office documents, but he's the Hulk. Luckily, his true office companion is Slender Man, and they work together to stamp out the fire. Alright. Fair enough. Partners in crime. Slender Man and Hulk to the rescue. In an office building of all things. It's fine. It's but a fire. No worries. Oh, really? 小伙子. Oh no, 小伙子. 伙食. Oh, maybe it's 伙食. Partner. 伙伴. Dylan, Jen. Yeah. Oh.
火 治
To govern. Oh, hey, look at you. Oh no. We had, what was this? This was suppose and what? Cure? Oh boy. Oh, I can see why they use govern though. Because they're talking about politics. Oh, that is interesting. That is very interesting. And they're gonna stick to govern. I wonder if cure and suppose is gonna come into the picture here. James Bond. Okay, James Bond is in the bathroom of the house where he has set up his own country. Oh, his own country set up again. Where he has set up his own country. Maybe, how about where he set up his own secret base, right? Because he has a secret hideout extended from the bathroom of the house, right? And he governs it with an iron elbow. I suppose an iron fist. Okay. Literally, if anyone breaks any law in his bathroom, he hits them with an elbow in the mouth, sending their saliva mixed with blood spraying everywhere. What a strange way to govern. Okay. Alright. Honestly, using machine would be great. There's no machine. Oh, that's interesting. So Kevin decided not to make this whole thing a component, right? But you could use a platform. Where would the spray come in? Huh. Alright, I mean, this one's kind of rough. Sure. Okay. I mean, it's kind of funny though. Rule of law, fair enough. 法治, method, govern, rule of law, 法治. 治国, to govern a country, that makes sense. To treat. 治疗, okay. There is to treat. So kind of like curing. We'll wait for whatever the right thing is. And then there's politics, yep. 政治. 政治 is what is this? 政治, right? 政治 or 政治? Like 政治. Yeah, I think it's both. But 政治 versus 政治. At least that's where this one, I think.
治
治 the 治 呼 呼 oh wait, but is this the same who in front of 呼猪? The Hulk is in front of the house where he is putting in yard signs. He uses too much strength and puts it in all crooked to the point of partly crushing it. Oh, that's all he said once he realizes what. Okay. Oh, 似乎 似乎 seem similar. Oh, 在乎 nope, not the same thing. To care. I don't know where the O comes from.
呼急
T immediately. Okay. Not familiar with this one. Jimmy Neutron is inside the house when a silver bar with a postage postage stamp suddenly comes in through the mail slot. A silver bar, of all things. Maybe like a silver package with the postage stamp suddenly comes in through the mail slot. He immediately goes and grabs the silver package and puts it in his pocket. He needs it for an experiment. Still checks out. He actually ordered it moments ago and was surprised it came so immediately. His order history hasn't even updated yet. That kind of checks out. That's fine. 栗子 no, not 子 栗子 wait 栗子 yeah 及时 oh 及时 I don't know how to connect that. 及时 okay 义理 义己 namely again immediately. Oh, this is more like a figure of speech
急
character. Yeah. And then the other one, oh, feels like a figure of speech as well. I don't know how much I like that.
卷
Jen. Yeah, I don't know. It's Jen. Chen. Like Ha Chen. Chen. Okay, I see. I think I'm saying it with a weird accent, I suppose. Or maybe, but I usually think of Juan as in like Ha Juan. Ha Juan. At a dim sum place. Okay. Like a shrimp roll. Okay. Or maybe it's different. I don't know. Or a different character. Alright, the iron elbow to the mouth. Iron elbow to the mouth.
至
Oops. Not right.
急 呼 火
Alright, let's lock in. Getting late. Getting late.
喝之一
这是我最喜欢的一本书之一。
宣面积
计算员的面积，
打听
打听朋友的消息，
I just now realized I have two ways of expressing inquire. That's a really old one. YOLO. That didn't work.
寸
Whoops. Wrong tone. I do that quite a bit.
骑士
勇敢地骑士，
五影苹果园
他住在一个苹果园，
东南亚
越南位于东南亚，
那
What is
秋
that feeling failing. Oops.
左
Hold. Hold.
显绝望
在绝望中，他找到了希望。
绝望 Despair.
改
Do I do another YOLO? YOLO! I don't know. Oh. Wait.
为
I think I know. Right?
观点
希望你公开自己的观点。
斗
What? Wait, oh, system. Whoa. What am I looking at? Why do I want... Oh, wait.
决赛
决赛将在下个月举行。
怎特产
我带回来许多特产。
Wait. I don't know! Oh no. I have another character that I'm loose on. Feels awful.
制度
一个复杂的经济制度。
Maybe it's not what I think it is.
永不
让我们永不分离。
谈
What? What?
母猪
那只母猪很大只。
Like recover, right? Cross? South? Six. Oh no. I have no idea.
基地
军事基地。
Foundation land? Like homeland? Hmm. I have no idea. I think I'm gonna block this one out. Oh, it's K. Oh no, it's K. Yeah, we're blocking that out. I can Kermit the Frog again. I know what it is, at least. The heck is fire on fire?
一般，
这是一般人的心理。
理想，
生活不太理想。
Sensible. Sensible. Intellect. Rational. Right?
王国，
西班牙王国。
背景，
这幅画的背景是一片湖。
灯，场，
Fire? Fire? What? What is fire? 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 Chat? Campground? There's no way this is foundation. Yeah.
休克，
病人休克了。
rest to recover, or rest and overcome. Pretty sure that's overcome. So gotta be something about like restore, healed, remedied. What's it?
制定，
公司正在制定新的政策。
制定 set system. It is part of set system, but formulate. Okay. Fine. Base. I see. Try rational. Logic. Think. Think logically. Could just be logical, I suppose.
伟大，
伟大的文学天才。
Rest to overcome. It's all of the oh yeah, we're blocking this out. Shaku, wait. I could have sworn I added stuff here. Yeah, Shaku is gonna be, it's a near we're gonna have to rely on that. That's just gonna be blocked for the rest of Oblivion. Shaka. It's supposed to sound like Shaka, I'm pretty sure. Or 修课. This is 修课. Not Shaka, 修课.
L
So we also have design. I'm not sure if design is acceptable here. To draw up, to lay down. To set the system, to lay down. Okay. I don't know what this is. I don't know, is this supposed to be a bonfire? I genuinely have no idea. You think a fire on top of a fire is going to be alright. Most of it deals with talking and discussing.
原始
原始资料，
新手
我是个新手，
跟
YOLO? No, no YOLO. I would. What? Oh, I missed an I. Wait. No, I meant wrong tone. Wrong tone. Why do I want to type this? That's because it's wrong.
图尽头
学问是没有尽头的。
Yeah, 镜头 is weird too.
桥
I just happen to remember it now, but I don't think I'm gonna remember it later without other reinforcements.
邮件
电子邮件，
Wait. Yeah. Or mail, yeah. I was reading off the thing, not... Yeah.
从不
他上班从不迟到。
Boot style from like never understand. Probably never understand, or never YOLO. YOLO.
互信
我们的互信很重要。
Like mutual trust. I want to say where are the words coming from? Oh. No. I totally forgot what this is. Or have I? I almost feel like I want to do like... No, that doesn't sound right.
您们
你们有啤酒吗？
吃苦
他挺能吃苦的。
Oh, hardship. I keep typing bitter, but it reminds me of hardship. A bitter taste is a hardship. uh... What?
录音
放录音。
Don't remember.
握手
握手表示感激。
简单
事情并不像你想象的那么简单。
金属
铜是一种重要金属。
有效
有效的药物。
素
Su. What did they go with for Su? Maybe like no? Tell? Probably like tell or something.
南极
南极的温度是零下35摄氏度。
This one might be like the ones that are not... I feel like this is a repeat. This is definitely a repeat. So maybe like... Ideal, yeah. I'm gonna say ideal, but logical. It is ideal, but it's also logical and rational a lot of times. That is an old one. I don't think I'm gonna overcome that in the sense of how it's being. And then maybe this is accuse. Oh, tell. That's right. I added telling. Yeah, accuse is very strong, but it doesn't capture the regular use of it. Like 告诉 that I would use.
邮票，
这是一张旧邮票。
另外，
我还要跟你谈另外一件事情。
我 about that later.
表格，
请填这张表格。
Or nature? Guess they would want nature. Words. I'm drawing a blank on this. Oh. Oh.
正，登录，
我还没有登录。
What? Oh. Maybe.
消，不曾，
我不曾去过那里。
Have 4 nevers.
法律，
法律面前人人平等。
that is definitely something that I don't. It's like surface condition, right? Like maybe a situation or something like that.
农民，
农民们都在忙着秋收。
善，
Virtuous, but kind is fine too. Yeah. 中忙 right?
使，效益，
提高工作的效益。
懂事，
他虽然年纪小，但是很懂事。
Sensible. Okay. I don't know what this is anymore. It makes me want to do like.
设立
Oh, it
公
is.
司在台北设立了一个新办公室。
I have no idea what that is. And I don't know why it's Shirley.
企业
这个企业在国际上有名。
追逐
警察正在追逐一名罪犯。
That's a bad miss type. Okay. Inflammation. We're just gonna add fire. I don't think inflammation's gonna. That's not gonna help. It's just not gonna help. And we're gonna add kind.
利益
追求个人利益。
Oh, it's PUR. Whoops.
逐步
我们的中文水平在逐步提高。
Maybe like defense? It's kind of like defense. Oh, established. Oh, for established. No, I'm okay with that. Okay, it's one of those blocks.
“售价
这件衣服的售价是200元。
This is the thing that sparked the like 5-hour conversation yesterday. Yes, to establish. Still defaults to benefits.
登机
这是登机的排队吗？
登山
我喜欢登山。
Pretty sure.
充满
Yeah.
这部电影充满了悲情。
Come on, look, 8. Come on. Come on. Cool. Worthy. Holy. Good enough. Completely full. It's probably still full.
细化
这个企划非常有创意。
Inflammation. That's not gonna stick. We'll try, but
警察
我害怕警察。
yeah, this is gonna need form. Yeah, so appearance. Oh, but it's that type of form. I'm not sure if that's gonna help. No, I'm just gonna block this one. It's Should have thought about pattern, but that's like the 4th time that's come up. Not great. This is probably, it's probably good enough for full, to be full of. Okay.
线 序
Excuse me?
双赢
双赢局面，
另类
她是一个另类的女孩。
句 总结
写工作总结，
Summary. Summary and overall is very, very close. Oh. So, what happened here? I think I had the same problem with how this was done. Oh. Oh, I'm mixing two things up. I'm mixing two things up. Not the thing that I was thinking. That one was... Shun. I'm thinking of Shun. I'm thinking of Shun. That was Shu. That's okay. How the... What? What? Oh.
紧张
我好紧张。
长江
武汉位于长江旁边，
齐 景
Yes.
食材
新鲜的食材，
律师
Yeah, so this one is continue. The other one that I was thinking of is Shun, which is instructions. Gotta be careful. Be careful. What am I looking at? It's gone. Oh, wait. I don't think it's this one. Is it? I'm going down wrong path. Wrong path.
伤害，
他伤害了我的感情。
察觉，
察觉可疑的活动。
Oh, oh,
眼，营地，
营地到处都是垃圾。
赛，宣言，
宣言谈到了自由的重要性。
proclamation. Want a proclamation? Fair enough. Wait. Yeah.
除，底，
Misspelled, of course.
肥，闪，雷，深，
Oh.
结，格，
Oh no. Oh no. This is gonna need vocabulary. Like, he has a kettle over the hill. It's not connected to separate. Yeah, that's not gonna sit very well. Oh, I only typed it once.
.麻将，
我整天都在玩麻将。
仅仅，
他仅仅是个孩子。
What? Wait. Oh. Oh, no, that's not. Huh. What?
传说，
我不相信那个传说。
Or legend. Fine. Is that not? Wait. Oops. What?
折
Ay, ay, ay. What the flip? Oh, I keep adding an I to it. Keep adding an I to it. Not niao, niao. No, not niao. Ugh. Hey, that's so weird. Thought I would forget this. Like I'm drawing a blank. This is kind of frustrating actually. Forget this. I'm pretty sure it is. Oh. Oh.
修理
我的车需要修理。
This one's kind of disappointing too. I keep typing niao now instead of niao. Instead of now, I kept typing niao. Uh,
首脑
so, what are the problems? There are a few in there that we're gonna pass because they just suck, but maybe they'll suck less later down the road. One of them is probably Ge. Ge is still relatively weak. I'm not thinking of it as pattern. I'm thinking of it as something else, and I'm letting the other character take too much. So like that's a surface pattern as opposed to expression pattern. An expression pattern would be like a personality, right? But this is form, and that deals with Japanese. That's why the Japanese one is making it a little trickier over time. Then we have... I stopped on this. Jing. It's tight. And Jinjiang sounds like nervous. So it looks and it sounds more like nervous than it looks. That's kind of a little weak. There's another thing I'm blocking. It's fine. So these are the newest. We don't have to worry about it. It's the bottom ones. Never dotting it to find out. Oh, I got stopped on this one, which is Ke. Ke is notorious though. Ke and this one is very notorious because Shilke. I think Shilke is not going away for a while, so we'll probably end up resurrecting this. What is this gonna be lumped in with? It's probably gonna lump in with like Chalkali and because I don't believe Xiaoke is supposed to be that far off from shock. It's almost the reverse of shock. Which I'm kind of curious. Let's see. Yeah, it's supposed to be a loan word. Yeah, Xiaoke. We're not gonna be too worried about it, but maybe we'll resurrect something that is also another loan word. But Xiaoke is supposed to be shock, and that's about it. Oh, and inflammation. Yeah, inflammation. Okay. What time is it? 11. These days are getting later and later. I really need to get up and start earlier. I've been having trouble sleeping. Too many rampant thoughts happening. I think I'm not exercising my due diligence on making sure that I don't sleep with rampant thoughts. How does this work? Roll. Roll. Yeah, roll. Right, roll. D. Jun. Jin. Yeah, Jin. Jin. Zhi. Ji. Hu. No. Hu. Oh, that's gonna be tough. Oh, these are really tough. Whoa. Chun. Dong. Yi. Gun. Rong.优先优先尾巴 Ya? Yahua. No, not Yahua. Ugh. Hua. Hua. Yi. Yi. Yan Li. Or, yes. Yan Li. E.G. 池子。侄子。售票处。江水。末尾。末尾。Alright. So poor Rudolph, staggering to the office bathroom, wearing his wonderful bow tie, right, and his office attire. Holding up some ice to his head. Then his manager walks in, right, and helps him out, right? Untie his bow tie, help him out. A caring manager, an office building. Because he's feeling a little bit weak, right? Yeah, Bigfoot in his house. Oh, try and go to the bathroom in his house. Then suddenly a nerd shows up, right? Busting through his custom saloon door to his bathroom, and Bigfoot just knocks him silly, throws him out, and then locks his closes his saloon door. Kind of like hinges it closed. He used glasses, but that's fine. Nerds don't always wear glasses, I'm just saying. But I guess it works with that stereotype. Julius. Julius made his way into his bathroom of his pawn shop. The bathroom of his pawn shop. Wearing his customary headdress. And scrolling, and writing, right? Writing on a scroll of all the things he will indoctrinate as he plans for his world domination again. And he does well to use a paperclip to mark all the important points. We have James Bond chilling in his bathroom, right? In his bathroom, where there's a secret base, and the secret base is governed by an iron elbow. And if any people disobey, they take an elbow to the mouth, right? You can imagine how blood sprays everywhere when you take an elbow to the mouth. Deterrence. Power of deterrence. Governed by fear for some reason. A little bit out of character for James Bond, though. Maybe it's an interrogation. Then we have Jimmy Neutron in the rushing to the living room of his house to pick up a silver package. A silver package. Right, and the package has a postage stamp on it, of course. A package with a silver postage stamp on it. That's fair enough. And he was surprised at how immediately arrived since he just ordered it. It immediately arrived, so he immediately rushed to the living room to pick it up. Then we have Hulk. This one's gonna be kind of a miss. Hulk was outside. He's trying to put up a yard sign. Right? He's trying to put up a yard sign. But he didn't recognize his strength, and he basically just slammed it into the ground and broke it. And he exclaims, "Oh, well, that happened," you know. And then we go back to Hulk. This time, he's made his way to his occupation in the office building. It's currently in the basement, right? In the basement of the office building, resolving a potential fire. And while all his other companions or co-workers left, he still has Slenderman to help out put out the fire. The partner, you know. Let's go over some stuff. Right. So we have inflammation. We're gonna block it with fire. We have 表哥 which is form, like a written form or something on a piece of paper. And then we have 逍客 修课 which is shock. Add mental block on something else, which is not a big deal because it's a one-off a lot of times. Yeah, that's pretty good. Yeah, good enough. Good enough. Patch up things as we go. We're getting close to the burns, right? Or the masters in this one. And we'll review, resurrect some stuff. Most of the time, I don't expect it to increase the workload very much because they should be starting to become instantaneous. Gotta check something. All right. All right. Oh, that's a wrap for HanziHero today. I'll probably remember the other one or two sometime in the evening. Yeah. So if you're gonna watch this later, 谢谢. As always, you can feel free to follow along if you're interested in learning traditional. I think this is pretty great because of the traditional Chinese, and as some have pointed out, that the whole preference of simplified versus traditional is kind of a very divisive thing when it comes to learning how to read Chinese. I think now we have largely exceeded the simplified. Although yesterday I was reviewing some stuff because someone else was sharing their Chinese, and I realized that wow, it's been a while since I've seen simplified. So even things like Ma was interesting to look at again. All right. Always feel free to stop on by, share your hot takes, share your stories. I would love to exchange some ideas, exchange some stories. For those who are only interested in HanziHero, 大家下次见, right? See you next time, everyone. I'm gonna get up, walk around, and we got one last segment to do. And I'll be back for it. Thank you.